During the COVID-19 pandemic, birding became very popular. It could be done at a safe social distance, and many people had more time on their hands. Today's books also began development during the pandemic lockdowns. Let's explore how Erik Ruin's Until We Can See Each Other as Free Human Beings and Gaylord Schanilec's American Crow observe birds in relation to isolation and other societal questions and issues. Based in Philadelphia, Erik Ruin's creative work spans printmaking, shadow puppetry, paper cuts, and more. A founding member of the Just Seeds Artists Cooperative, he regularly collaborates with musicians, theater performers, and other artists and activists. Since 2019, he has made artists' books in a series called Letters from German Exile. These books feature missives from historic figures like journalist and founding member of the Red Army faction, Ulrike Meinhof, and playwright and poet Bertolt Brecht. In these books, Ruin reflects on contemporary themes such as incarceration, the rise of fascism, survival, individual versus collective, and love of nature. Until We Can See Each Other as Free Human Beings is the third book in this series. Ruin's screen-printed images accompany excerpts from Rosa Luxemburg's letters, written from prison in 1917 and 1918. Luxemburg was a key figure in that era's international socialist movements in Poland and Germany. A Marxist theorist and revolutionary leader, she worked toward the liberation of the working class and advocated against capitalism, globalization, and colonialism. She was imprisoned for her anti-war pamphlets and assassinated in 1919. In addition to her political views, the texts Ruin included in this book highlight Luxemburg's observations and relationship with nature. Birds feature prominently throughout. Ruin told me that he first encountered Luxemburg's letters during the COVID-19 pandemic. Her missives about isolation and birding resonated with him. Although careful not to conflate their distinct experiences, he recognized fellow or parallel feelings about the passage of time, loneliness, and connection with nature. Ruin aims to provide a counter-narrative to our carceral system, and he is interested in the ways in which prison correspondence serves to correct the historical record. Since these texts are excerpted from written correspondence, they don't provide detailed history or context to events that Luxemburg refers to. Rather, across the whole volume, we gain a sense of her political views and how she negotiated current events during her incarceration. There are numerous descriptions of nature, such as clouds or birds and their songs. Luxemburg finds joy, beauty, and strength to persevere through the small creatures and moments she observes from prison. Bound by Denise Carbone, Until We Can See Each Other as Free Human Beings is a very large book. The scale of each page draws us into Luxemburg's limited world. Ruin's elegant page designs unify the space between his illustrations and Luxemburg's words. Luxemburg's letters often include detailed descriptions of the sounds she hears, from various birds to noises from the neighborhood beyond the prison grounds. With only the same walls to look at every day and night, the sounds she describes maintain connection to a broader world teeming with vibrant life. She expresses her joy and sorrow in relation to them. Luxemburg's letters appear in approximate chronological order. I appreciate that Ruin didn't shy away from lengthy passages of text. He gives us the opportunity to value her connection to nature and how deftly she relates observations of minutiae into larger moral, political, or universal perspectives. When I asked how he approached designing for these long texts, He told me he considered how to create an integrated dialogue between the text and image, what kind of visual structures could contain the text, and how his images would make the work flow as a sequential book. He said, "I'm trying to find rhymes within the images that will get us from one idea to the other." Although Luxemburg sometimes writes with deep sadness, I was struck by how regularly she expresses extreme joy. I lie there quietly, alone, wrapped in these many-layered veils of darkness, boredom, lack of freedom, and winter. And at the same time, my heart is racing with an incomprehensible, unfamiliar inner joy, as though I were walking across a flowering meadow in radiant sunshine. These passages speak to her perseverance and strategies for enduring. However, by the end of the book, and nearing the end of her time in prison, her patience wears thin. On this second-to-last page, Luxemburg describes how she can't endure a visit from the letter recipient, unable to speak freely under observation from prison officials. The title of the book comes from this passage. The final image is a little ambiguous. The trees and sky might be visible above the prison walls or after Luxemburg was released. Either way, Ruin leaves us with hope. Gaylord Schanilec is a printer, wood engraver, and writer based in Wisconsin. He established his press, Midnight Paper Sales, in 1980. Publishing his own texts, as well as the work of other poets and authors, his books and prints feature traditional wood-engraved illustrations of the built and natural worlds. American Crow encapsulates Schanilec's reactions to events from the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic to the following January. He describes the project as a volume of illustrated concept journalism. We are immediately confronted with the tally of the dead from COVID, March 15, 2020, 2 days after the Trump administration declared a nationwide emergency. The title layout reflects an American flag, but the red lines have imperfections. I'm curious about this orange crow moving away from the flag. On the back of this folio section, Schanilec alerts us to the passing time and increased danger. Just 4 months have elapsed, but the number of dead has increased 100-fold. The second folio typographically connects the words novel COVID and corvid. Corvid is the scientific family name that includes crows. A wood engraving of a fallen feather rests across from Schanilec's poem, describing where he found it. I am moved by the way the feather lays. Slightly disheveled, it evokes what remains after death. In this next section, more letters are read, perhaps reflecting the danger or exponentially growing number of people dying from COVID. In this poem, Schanilec describes how he found a dead crow and left it aside for another day. When he returned, it was gone. Like the previous poem, this speaks to what is left behind after death and what disappears. The final page of this poem widens the perspective. Away from the natural spaces, we are brought into a social or urban space, and the murder of George Floyd, killed not by COVID, but by police brutality and generations of embedded American racism. With sparing information, Schanilec focuses on key details that trigger intense memories of the isolation and historic events of that spring. Schanilec usually designs and prepares all of his type and wood engravings before beginning to print a book. As the first U.S. closures began in March 2020, he described himself as feeling jumpy like a needle across a scratch. He decided to create American Crow in a more impromptu manner. He would respond with immediacy to the death, isolation, and news confronting all of us. During this time, Schanilec became very interested in crows. He photographed the birds and developed these detailed illustrations from his own documentation. Like the other images in American Crow, this is printed from a wood engraving. Distinct from woodcuts, which are carved along the grain, wood engravings are cut into the end of the block of wood, which is harder and more dense and allows for extremely fine detail. The next folio layers much of the political and social upheaval of that summer and into the presidential election that fall. This layout is a direct reference to a famous page of the English Bible published by the Doves Press in the early 1900s, a lauded example of beautiful typography that influenced modern book design. Schanilec's version, however, shows Donald Trump crowing about himself with extreme vanity and partisanship. In stark contrast to the singular I POTUS is we the people from the preamble to the Constitution. These letters are not printed from type, but from a wood engraving into insect-eaten maple. These iconic words are damaged. Schanilec included excerpts from the Bill of Rights, including the freedom of religion, speech, and assembly, the right to bear arms, and the right to vote regardless of race, color, or sex. The quote inside comes from the podcast S-Town, which Schanilec was listening to at the time. The ways all of this information is made visible or obscured reminds me of the confusion and rampant misinformation of that year. The text along the bottom is from Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which removed racial barriers to voting. I could see that Schanilec was printing different skin tones for the color of the letters, but I was curious about the uneven kerning. He explained to me that the Republican Supreme Court in Wisconsin rejected mail-in voting that year. He said the news was filled with footage of mostly people of color standing in the cold, waiting in long, socially distanced lines to vote. In this section, the insect damage in the wood, which we've seen increasing across the different prints, is abundant. Schanilec achieved the black color of the crow by overprinting red ink on top of green. The red holes read as bullet holes. Schanilec originally titled this print "The Color of Money, the Color of Blood," but later changed it to January 6, 2021. The final folio greets us with a call to action, a quote from Amanda Gorman's poem, "The Hill We Climb," which she read at Joe Biden's inauguration. At the bottom, the people are still waiting in line to vote. Another count of the dead. What started around 6,000 is now well over 2 million. Schanilec closes with a colophon that includes additional notes about each section. Here I came to understand how that orange bird moving away from the flag in the beginning represents the orange pox Donald Trump, walking on the thin blue line, a pro-law enforcement symbol that purports to emphasize law and order. Glued to the case and inaccessible to the reader is a print Schanilec made at the very beginning of the pandemic. He told me he included it as an echo of his impromptu process of reacting and printing. Working with such immediacy, Schanilec captured the strong emotions, historic moments, isolation, and social challenges of those 10 months of the pandemic. Birds symbolize many meanings, including freedom, wisdom, death, and transformation. Until we can see each other as free human beings and American Crow, weave in observations of birds to speak to enduring isolation amidst significant moments in history.